This video is about the sounds we can make. The branch of linguistics that deals with this aspect of language is known as articulatory phonetics, the study of how sounds are articulated. Remember, successful communication crucially depends on me saying something to you, and what I'm using to make sure that you hear what I say is sound, which I produce with my voice. Keep in mind, though, that sound by itself is meaningless. We, as a speech community, arbitrarily assign meaning to sound. But there is nothing about "the" that would be related to dogness, just like there is nothing about "f" that would be fog-like. Remember, that's one of the design features of human language. Meaningful units are made up of meaningless parts, the sounds. And that's what we're going to talk about here. The sounds of language. What are they? And how do we make them when we speak? Now, we can make lots of different sounds. But those are not the sounds we talk about. We want to talk about the sounds that are specific to language. Let's see. It all starts with air that we breathe in and out. Now, breath by itself is hardly audible, but you can do something to the breath to make it audible. Yes, for example, we can snore, or we can breathe heavily after a hard workout. In this case, you do hear something, and that's because I've gotten the air to move in a way that makes sound. I've created turbulence, and you perceive this as sound. But breath by itself is not yet language. It has no meaning assigned to it. It doesn't even sound like language. I need to do a little more. I have to use my voice to create the sounds of language. So, how do we create such sounds of language? How do humans generate sound waves on demand? To answer this, we should probably first know how sound waves come about in the first place, before we can figure out how we make them. It all reduces to creating appropriate turbulence in the form of sound waves. That's what sound is. A tuning fork creates a simple sound. The sound wave is perfectly even and looks like this, a simple sound wave. To make a simple sound wave out of our breath, we have to add a voice. And we do this by creating vibrations. But simple sound waves are not really good enough to holding a conversation. Is not a conversation. To create the sounds of language, the sound waves need to be modulated. In fact, when we talk, the sound waves look more like this. So, how do we modulate the sound waves for the sounds of language? A key ingredient to our voice is the vibration of the vocal folds. That's the technical term for our vocal cord. They actually don't look anything like chords, as you can see here. Vibrating our vocal folds produces sound, and now we can modulate that sound. A simple way to modulate a sound wave is to manipulate its amplitude. That will give you different degrees of loudness. Quiet or loud. Or we could modulate the sound wave to manipulate its frequency. That will give you different pitch. Low pitch. High pitch. But that's still not quite enough. Try and have a conversation by making just one sound, like ah, with different volume or pitch. Chances are that you cannot really say what you want to say very well. Having only as a sound is not enough for an effective language. But with our vocal tract, we can modulate the space the air moves through in much more sophisticated ways. This modulation changes the shape of the resonating properties. When we make the ah sound, our tongue is pretty low. It's kind of out of the way. That's why the doctor has us say ah when she wants to look down our throat. So then, why do you think we say cheese when we smile for the camera? Right. The tongue has to go way up high, and when we exaggerate that, it puts our mouth in the position for smiling. Cheese! So, now we know how to make different vowels, at least ah and e. But, of course, there are more vowels than just that. When you read about vowels, you will often see a vowel chart. These vowel charts illustrate the place of the tongue in the mouth when producing a vowel. Now, by the way, remember that we are interested in how languages are the same and how they differ. This chart here represents the vowels of California English. And this chart represents the vowels of Korean. So, while all languages make use of vowels, languages differ in how many vowels they use and how exactly each vowel is made, and therefore how the vowels sound. It's all about the position of the tongue. So, that's how we make complex sound waves. We modulate the space the air moves through your mouth. But wait, all we can say so far is this. We can say vowels loud and quietly, and we can say them with high or with low pitch. But we still cannot really have a conversation. No language makes use of vowels alone. We also need some consonants. And that's your challenge for the next little while. How do we make consonants? Here's how you can go about figuring it out. Go to this website. The password is 123. And then you can click on English consonants. And then you can click on any consonants you like. Don't worry about the funny symbols for now. And here you see what happens in your mouth when you make that consonant. I just want you to think about how you make them. You want to pay attention to three things: the place of articulation, where you make them; the manner of articulation, how you make them. Do you stop the airflow, or do you just restrict it to create some friction? And are you using your vocal folds? Are they vibrating? If they do, the sound is voiced, and if they don't, the sound is voiceless. You can tell by placing your hand onto your throat. If you feel it vibrating, like in ah, the sound is voiced. If you don't feel it vibrating, like in the sound is not voiced. This chart here illustrates all the pulmonic sounds, that is, the sounds that are made with air from our lungs. But just so you know, there are also sounds that are not by air out of our lungs. We can make sounds by clicking our tongue or by manipulating our glottis. Uh-oh! Try and figure out how those are made on your own. Maybe you could even come to class and perform some of them. But for now, I'll leave you to your challenge. I want you to appreciate how much it is that you do when you're producing the sounds of language.